near Castlemaine when COVID came and shut our whole town down. And as the kids and I hid at home, my husband risked it all by working to keep our little farm alive, whilst I did everything that the government told me to. And I made sure that my kids followed suit. I'd always thought that the end of it all would be another war, and not me and my grown kids sitting here and watching the TV, and not me and my kids watching TV. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. As the barley rolls and dances with the wind. But then the vaccines arrived to save us all, so we lined up and rolled up our sleeves. We lined up and rolled up our sleeves, gratefully, 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 gratefully. On a Monday night, my daughter suddenly died when a blood clot burst inside her lungs. Then a few weeks later, my husband found my son on our kitchen floor. We found our son dead on our kitchen floor. We buried our beautiful kids with all of their unrealized dreams. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. As the barley rolls and dances with the wind. And everyone knew what had happened, but no one would say. Together they were all as silent as the moon. And then COVID moved on, just like the flu. The only difference is that I was now alone. For my husband is gone now too. Our doctor told me that his heart that was so strong, it had seen him build this farm, had just suddenly given way, had just suddenly given way. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. As the barley rolls and dances with the wind. So now I'm selling the farm, I mean, what else can I do? The fences need repairing and the harvest is long overdue. Plus I know the bank will come knocking soon. I know the bank will come knocking soon. And outside the windows, the wheat continues to grow as the barley rolls and dances with the wind. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. As the barley rolls and dances with the wind.
Okay, now before we bring my guest in, we're doing something special tonight, but I just have to say that I want to show this as show and tell. So we've had a bit of a strange sound in Florence. It sounds like a groaning or something, you know, just, yeah, anyway. So we decided it was the shock sound. We're at Fort Bill, and Bill got one off for me, and then I got the other one off. And we decided to see, well, how old are these shockies? Because we've been uh is it where they put on, I've had it for a few years, was put on 5 years ago, where they put on 10 years ago. Well, the bus was built is 1987, and these shockies are the original shockies. They've been on it since 1987. So obviously they don't build anything fast, but they built it for 1987, so it's done over 500,000 clicks on these shockies. I just think that's remarkable. When nowadays you buy them, maybe get 3, 4, 5 years out of them, where that's actually got, I don't know, 34 years or whatever. So I'm quite staggered. Anyway, we're going to bring in David now. Now, David Duckering, we're going to find out about him. There's a big thing in podcasts. Everyone's always looking for a special guest, and we've had lots of special guests, famous people from overseas. But what I really like is that we are a community. But who's our community comprised of? And why did they decide to take the path they did? And David has taken a path a lot of us have, and now we've got it happening again with digital ID. Tom Vogel has just lost his Facebook page because his Facebook wants him to do a facial recognition video. He has to turn this way, do a video of himself looking into the camera, turning sideways, turning this way, and then he has to submit it to make sure that they can figure out whether he's under 16 years of age. This is Tom Vogel, who's 57. It's been on Facebook since it commenced. So we are now going to, a lot of us with a lot of the things that we're doing on social media are going to be kicked out of the social media community. Maybe that's what seems to be happening. But we got kicked out because of the mandates with COVID. And now here we are about to be kicked out again. But is it different now? But anyway, before we get that, I'm really interested in talking to anyone in our community brave enough to speak, especially the blokes. So let's bring him in. I met him this time in Tenterfield. G'day, David.
Yeah. Hey, Michael. How are you?
Oh, you sound so excited.
Yeah.
Now, first question: when did you decide to go to the place where you change your name and remove the F from your surname and put a D?
Oh, I can't remember. It was so long ago. I know we are pronouncing it wrong. My name. It is probably
Okay.
pronounced Deutschering, not
Oh, so it's
Duckering.
Dutch or something.
Well, I'm assuming we tried to find out some of the family tree stuff, but traced it back overseas. But yeah, a bloke did come up with the theory that we were pronouncing it wrong and spelling it. It was Deutschering, probably
Deutschering.
in the old
Okay.
days. Yeah, but we'll roll with what we got. Yeah,
Okay,
we'll
let's
roll.
see. Now, uh, Lismore, because everyone found out Kelly and I met in Lismore, but you're actually from Lismore originally.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, born there.
What was
Grew
life
up,
like
spent a
as
lot
a
of.
kid in Lismore?
Look, I can't complain. I think it was pretty good. It's probably much like a lot of little regional areas in Australia back then. I'm born in '62, so it makes me about 63, 64 years of age soon. I mean, life was a hell of a lot different then. It was pretty simple. It was, you know, everything was a lot different. I mean, yeah, I could get into a lot of nitty gritty stuff, but to brush to summarize it, we were free. Everything was just so simple and easy. Growing up in Lismore back those days, it was everyone knew everyone. The
Did you go
police
through
knew
any great
everyone.
floods then?
Sorry.
Wasn't there a big flood in the 70s? Did you go through a
Oh
big
yeah,
flood in the 70s?
yeah. I can remember. My father was a councilman back in the day, and I can remember lifting furniture in the old council chambers late at night with him, stacking everything up on top of desks and cupboards and everything.
Wow.
We thought it was great. It was just fun. We were allowed out late at night to go and help move all this furniture. But yeah, they were just part of life. I mean, it happened nearly every year. Wasn't many years went by where we didn't have a flood. Back
Wow.
those days, and it was just, it was, the buildings seemed to withstand it a lot better back then. I know the last big floods were devastating, of course, to Lismore, and affected a lot of people I know, and I've got some stories of people, trying to knock sheets of tin off their roofs of a night to climb out of ceilings and couldn't get the 3-inch nails out of the hardwood battens. So they had to climb back down and got rescued out a window by family, not by SES, but by family that were told not to do it. But anyway, there's a lot of, we probably shouldn't go down that track right
Well,
now.
to be honest, it's really interesting because I've been in Lismore, and people didn't want to be interviewed on camera, but they were still wanted to talk about it, saying how high the water got, and the lack of help. That was a really interesting thing, because I think in the early days there would have been different in those days.
Well, we didn't have so much SES help and stuff then. It was just we were aware of what could happen. We got in and acted before it got too bad. So you didn't have technology then with weather forecasters and all that. You looked out the window, you knew what you were seeing, and you acted. And people, the old local people, they knew when you got that much rain in a catchment area, you've got a certain amount of hours to get down there and get stuff out. You watch the catchments. Of course, we didn't have the technology back then to get all the rainfall, up to date rainfall. But when you see a cyclone coming down from the tropics and it's heading for your catchment area, it's time to act, and that's how the old generation worked. And 99% of the time, it was successful, and but
You
this
also
was
spent
probably
time in Kakadu. Did I read
did a little bit up there. Yeah, ran around up there for a few years. Yeah, that was
What were you doing?
nice. Well, when I left out here on the station, I decided that I'd go up there and just sort of broaden my knowledge and experience a bit and work on a few bigger places up there, and ended up on an old, well, it's not an old station, it was relatively new and that, but it had old abattoirs and stuff on it from the buffalo catching days back in the early days on the floodplains near Darwin, just in between Darwin and Arnhem Land there. So spent 2 years there or something, and just, it was a working holiday more or less, but it was good experience to just see how everything works in that end of the country up in that area, with the different seasons and stuff that they have, because Mother Nature rules up there.
Oh, she does, yeah, she does indeed. Yeah, I can't actually wait to get back up to the top, because but then the last few weeks there's been huge storms coming in, and I love it. There's big we're in Port Macquarie. It's been a big storm hit us here. What were you doing before COVID? Where did your life got you to just before COVID?
Okay, that's interesting. I had a little bit of a break from the farming, and I went and did a fill-in job for 2 days. Well, it was actually 2 weeks, looking after a cleaning department at a Steiner school in Mullumbimby. Anyway, I arrived there. I did the 2 weeks, and they said, "Do you want a permanent job?" I said, "Oh, geez, I don't know. I've sort of already got a job. The bloke's not coming back that you're filling in for." And I said, "Oh." I went home and thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm not making a lot of money out of farming at the moment. It was a bit prices weren't good with the macadamia farming. So I thought, yeah, okay, I'll sign up to this and we'll see where it leads. Anyway, I was just basic cleaning at first, and then they threw me into the other bloke that was managing it, which is a really good friend of mine up there, and he's a Tahitian. He's from Lord Howe. Was it Norfolk Island? And that, so he's got Pitcairn Island, all that. Does that ring a bell? He's got all his ancestors from there. So he
Pitcairn Island is where the mutiny on the Bounty people ended up.
That's correct. He's related to all that crew. Right. And he's a really good waterman and fisherman and everything. And he was supervising the cleaning department at the Steiner school at Mullumbimby there. Anyway, he offered me this job, and I said, well, okay, I guess I can clean. It's not that hard, is it? but in the cleaning department was a schmozzle at the time when I walked in there. You know, we were employing parents that were paying off school fees, and because it's a private school, the Steiner school, so it's quite expensive to send your children there. So a lot of the parents worked there, and I took on the management role. I've got a little issue there, but I think we're back, are we? Yeah,
Yep.
I'm good. Anyway, so I took on the management role there in the cleaning and waste management, and 2 weeks ended up 10 years later. So I was there pre-COVID, and
Looks like we got a frozen guy. See if he comes back. We've been having a lot of issues lately, actually. We've got Starlink. There's a clear sky above us, and it's absolutely no problem. And yet, but we have actually been having trouble, and it only happens when the show's on. Do you want to give him a buzz and tell him to? I'm going to kick him out and see if he gets back in. So we'll see if he gets back in. So, yeah. So it's while we're waiting for him to come back in, we are on Odyssey today. I have been trying to stream to Telegram. I don't know if it's working. And we are streaming to Odyssey. Telegram seems to be, yeah, I don't understand it. I know there's a way to do it, but I don't. Yeah, I'm learning. Yeah, we're just waiting for our guest to come back to see if he comes back. So I'm learning to use Telegram. We are using Odyssey, but the big news is that Kevin thinks, that's the guy behind the website. Kevin thinks we can learn to stream to cafelockdown.com itself, the website. And so we'll be discussing with him how that's possible. He sent me a detailed email today, but we're so big getting the shockies off and stuff and getting here, we haven't got around to it. So, yeah, so that's the thing there. Whether we'll be allowed to, I don't know. It's, but Richard Wollstonecroft and David, we might be doing a Boxing Day show, which will be the 26th, which is basically the eve of the 27th, where they're going to start apparently all asking us to identify ourselves. I mean, I think it's so unbelievable that they're going to that extent of control that maybe people don't realize. They're thinking it's never going to work, but they're doing it. They're actually doing it. And I'll say again, we're not going to comply. I don't know what that means for us, but we're not going to comply. At the moment, every time I log on to StreamYard, here he is. I wonder if I'm still going to be there. And so far, I'm still allowed. So we'll just have to keep pottering along. Okay, let's see if we bring him in. I can't see his face yet. Yeah. Maybe he can use his phone. So I'll keep watching, see if he comes back in. So, but this is it. And we've got the Bondi thing, which is everyone is consumed by it naturally. And, but here he comes. Yeah, man. How you going?
Have you got me back now?
Yeah, I do. I got you back. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. It just told me my other device is overheating. I think it's just a little bit too old and worn out, a little bit like me, I think. It's just decided it's decided it's all too much for it.
That's it. That's it.
Anyway,
That's it.
there. I'll keep my glasses on now because I've just downsized back to my phone and the screen's a whole lot smaller.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries, man. No worries. It's Cafe Lockdown.
Hopefully we can. Yeah.
It's not me
Yeah,
getting kicked off and leaving the guests there by themselves going, what do I do?
Yeah.
So
can I improve it for you, move it closer or further?
yeah,
Closer?
or even
Good.
just turn it sideways and that'll
yeah.
make it so we can see you better. If it there you go.
There we go.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So
How's that?
where you started, and I know people say COVID's gone, but it's changed our lives forever. We're a different country because of how willingly we complied. We've sort of lost our not all of us, but a lot of people have lost their ability to, I don't know, there's something wrong. Anyway, but who were you? What happened when COVID came along? Why did you decide not to take it? I know it's no question, but why did you
Yeah.
decide? And then what? Then we'll get to the journey you took on after that.
Okay. Well, it's a good question, and it's weird how it evolved. I ran into a bloke on the beach 6 months before COVID. I was just walking my dog, and he came up to him. We started chatting. He, young bloke, whatever. He looked like a, nice bloke to have a chat with. And he said, there's a virus coming, and it's going to change everything. And I said, oh yeah, right. And we got talking a little bit, and that was it. I didn't take it any further. I didn't think any more about it. And I walked off down the beach, and I come home and I told Don, I said, I just ran into a bloke down the beach that told me there's this virus. And that was nearly 6 months before we heard anything in Wuhan. And I remembered back to that conversation. I thought, how did that bloke give me the heads up on that 6 months prior to it? It freaked me out a little bit. But there was also other ways that I had a little bit of a heads up on things. I really appreciate the fact that I did have a few people hint to me that something was going to go down and that I was a little bit ready for it. A person in my family, I won't mention names, had been talking about New World Order for a long time. And everyone thought New World Order was for tinfoil, hatware and nut jobs, right?
Okay.
And so I'd had a little bit of an insight into that. And so we had a head start on this a little bit, me and Donna. And so when everything happened, we went, oh, okay, we've got a little bit of a head start on this and we're onto it, which was more than a lot of people had. It was a total shock to a lot of mainstream society. They had no idea this was coming. Next minute, they saw all this scary footage on the, the television and whatnot and all the propaganda, and it just freaked them right out. Whereas we had this little bit of a insight into it at first, and I think it helped us, I must admit. So we had a head start on it, and then we were able to go from there, basically, and well, you know what I mean? But so that I think helped us.
Once you decided not to take it, what was the reaction? Did you manage to keep?
Well,
we met a guy the other day, a while ago now on the beach. He had a huge family, like 40 or 50 people. All of them didn't take it. It's the biggest mob I've met. For some reason, they were all on board. But
that's unusual because
most people went. So, did you lose family and friends? You lose work? What happened?
Well, it wasn't that easy a decision. I had made 3 appointments to get a needle to get the vaccine, and I cancelled all 3 of them. I just knew something wasn't right. I did my research. I got online and started looking around, and I thought, no, there's just something not right here. So I'd had 3 appointments. We were in tears some nights. Me and my partner, Donna, were in tears. Didn't want to do it, but thought, well, where are we going to end up? Are we going to be put in a concentration camp, or where are we going to end up? We're going to be able to buy groceries, or we're going to be outcast. I had the RSL club denied me entry into the RSL, and they were supposed to stand up for the diggers and for the veterans and for people, and they denied me access. So I just cancelled my membership with the RSL club, and they got back to me years later, want me to sign back up, and I said, no, look, sorry, I can't do that. You let me down. You turned your back on me and told me I couldn't come through the doors. And that was the RSL club. And, St. Vincent's de Paul did it to me too. In St. Vincent's, de Paul, the second hand, they were supposed to look after the needy and the homeless and the people that were, downtrodden or whatever. And they turned their back on me too, and so we didn't know where it was going to go and where we were going to be in society. So it was really scary, but we took our chances. We stuck with our decision. And we're here today now, and very grateful that I didn't go down that rabbit hole where they wanted us to go.
But what's interesting now is it's happening again. We've all been through 5 years. There's been Epic. There's been, and I think you were at Epic. Didn't you come to tell me you came down to Canberra?
I did. I had to do it. I could not go. I dropped everything. I ran down there, drove 12 hours straight down the highway to get there. Joined the convoy. It's the most amazing thing. As soon as I pulled out onto that highway at Woodburn, it was just cars with slogans written all over them, and just they felt like they were my family. I couldn't believe it, because I'd been so isolated up until then, with lockdowns and neighbours telling me they're going to report you for having more than 5 people in your house, and yet premiers could have 55,000 people in a football stadium. So I knew things were just totally out of control. So I had to go, and we packed up, and I called in on my brother to help do some driving for me to break up the driving, and we rocked up to Epic, and I just couldn't believe what we saw and what was going on there. And I only stayed for the one day, which was the main march. I was determined to march across that bridge and up to Parliament House and listen to Bosnia and all the different speeches, and then I left the next morning. But Epic was such an amazing congregation of like-minded people. There was grandmothers, children, parents, normal mainstream citizens of this country, genuinely concerned of their well-being, their businesses, their livelihoods, and they knew that they had to turn up. There was people from North Queensland, the Kimberley, Western Australia, Central Australia. They were from everywhere, and they were all there for the same reason. And it was just, it was an amazing thing to see, actually. I know they downplayed it a bit, and mainstream media didn't even give them any sort of, coverage on mainstream news. So it was just like nothing going on here, nothing to see. We won't broadcast this. We won't show anything. There was a couple of thousand people there. I reckon there would have had to have been somewhere between 500,000 and maybe closer to pushing up towards 1 million people that I saw on that day.
That's for I think the same. I don't really know
well
how
over
many were there.
500,000 anyway. Well over 500. And for every person that was there, I knew that there was 2 or 3 or 4 or more at home that couldn't make it because of commitments, whether looking after farm animals or running businesses. They just couldn't make it, but they would have been there had they declared it a long weekend for us all to turn up. There would have been a lot more people there. You know what I mean?
I don't think the government would have declared a public
It
holiday.
was worthy of one. It was totally worthy of one, I reckon.
Anyway. I think it should be a public holiday. If we win this, if somehow, because we're talking to Tom Vogel today, because Tom Vogel does the What the Fuck show, and he's just been kicked off Facebook. He can only get onto his private Facebook if he agrees to do a Facebook video. So he's got to look at it here, then turn his face this way. So he's got to do a facial recognition video and then submit it to Facebook before they will allow him to access his page. And he's been on Facebook well over 17 years. So they could easily see who he is. Anyway, so what's happening is it's happening again, really. So you were ostracized. Now they're going to do the same thing. They're going to, or it seems to be that way, that they're going to say, okay, well, if you don't want digital ID, you're not going to be able to access this. You're not going to be able to access this. You're another second-class citizen. But now, how do you feel now? Are you still as nervous and worried about it now, or now you're like, bring it on?
Look, I am a bit nervous about it, to be honest, because I don't know where it's going to go, whether it'll just fall over through non-compliance, which is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping there's enough people that are awake now that find other ways around it. And I mean, it's going to be detrimental to a lot of platforms and a lot of people that use the internet for that to work and make livelihoods. So I think it's going to be hard there, but hopefully if we just keep hold our ground and stand the line and just find ways around it. Look, I'm not overly concerned. I mean, I don't do a lot of live social media. I'm not a really big social media person. I love YouTube. I watch stuff on YouTube. I get on Facebook occasionally. I'm not a big Facebooker, but
Yeah.
it's going to affect other platforms too and things that we use. I mean, I don't know where it'll end up, and I don't know that anyone really does at this stage. I mean, if it starts to affect the way that we conduct our lives and do our business and go about our business, because we all have business to conduct, whether it be banking or whether it be, email or just whatever it is. I mean, I know people that already have not complied with certain restrictions in regards to internet banking. They wanted too much
Yeah.
information, so they stick to the old banking system. Therefore, we may have to look at more of that in the future. I don't know, but it is. We know what it is. I mean, and we know where it's going. So we just got to be conscious of it and try and keep our data private is the main thing. This is a complete exploitation of our data, and they want our data badly because that's what runs their machine. So we've got to try and keep our data as private and as off, away from them being able to use it as we can. I think that's what we're going to have to all concentrate on. But yeah, we will see, I suppose. Anyways.
What is your view of Australia now to the Australia you were, say when you were a cleaner, say, a year before COVID? What's your view of what's been happening to Australia from when you were young to just before COVID to now?
Yeah. Well, life's got a lot harder. There's been a lot of changes. I for one example, I've just done an owner builder certificate to get this house up and running, and the paperwork and red tape that you have to, and the hoops you have to jump through to do it, and there's not a lot of help out there for you, and a lot of the elderly people, and my generation included, struggle with the online stuff now. Like, I mean, everything's done through Services New South Wales through a portal system now, so you actually have to do basically everything yourself. There's no help. You can't walk into a council chambers now and walk up to the counter and submit a DA. That it doesn't exist. That doesn't work. That system's gone. And I've seen a lot of people, or even me, and more elderly people are really struggling. They can't conduct their own business in this country, or it's probably other countries as well. They cannot conduct their own business. They've been locked out of society. They need to pay someone to do it for them, or they don't do it. It's just so frustrating for them. I see it every day. You walk into a Telstra shop or a Optus shop, you'll see elderly people in there that cannot conduct their own business. They're getting caught with scams. They're getting caught in viruses. They're just getting trampled with this technology. It's ridiculous, really. They should keep their old systems in place until that generation of people move on or pass on. And I mean, we can't stop progress. It's always going to happen, but they need to keep some of their old systems in place so that people can conduct their own business, that they've been able to do all their lives.
Yeah, my father tells me that he doesn't have an email and they don't do much internet. They do a little bit. But he says even though he lives in the middle of suburbia, he feels like he's on Mars because he's so disconnected from society because he doesn't have an email. They ask him, "I will email it to you." He goes, "I don't have an email." They literally don't know what to say. And so it's all becoming digital that way. And I agree. It's almost a form of discrimination. These people have put a lot of time and energy and commitment into the building the country we're living in today. And now it's like, well, catch up or F off.
That's right. Well, my mum's just passed and she was totally frustrated with the system. I mean, 93-year-old or 94-year-old cannot conduct the business online that they require to do anything. It's a nightmare for them, a living nightmare. She was over it. I think she just gave up in the end and said, well, I don't no longer belong to this world. I can't do anything. I can't exist.
Oh, see what she said? That's what my dad says. Imagine that, 93 years old, an Australian, and that's what she says near the end. I no longer belong in this world.
They want everything done online. They want her to do emails. Mum, those people can't handle emails. They look at a computer or a device and they freeze. They
Yeah,
literally
they don't get
freeze.
it. They can't,
You know,
it's yeah.
I took mum overseas to airports and things, New Zealand and places like that, which aren't too far away. And she had to do check-ins and things on screen. As soon as she saw a computer screen, she froze because she would start sweating and freeze and nearly have an anxiety attack,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
looking at a
yeah.
screen. It's just not
Yeah.
there. What? Yeah. Anyways.
I'm still here. Hold on. I've just
Yep.
lost my camera again. Let's see if I can bring it back. There we go.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
good.
there's
Yeah.
I agree that is one thing. And then there's where the other thing, the young kids who now are banned, they are born into it. So I remember when my son was really young, he might have been only like 2 or something or 3. He's really young. And I showed him the mouse because he was interested. And I thought, there's no way this young that he's going to get the concept of move the mouse and the pointer moves. He got it immediately. So he's just
Yeah.
born into this world where my mother, literally every time I call her, she hangs up because she can't figure out what button to press on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
it's really sad that way. And it's because it almost speaks to an uncaring, or that money and profit mean more than
Yeah.
people, which is where we are
Yeah.
now,
Yeah. Well, they certainly
Yeah.
haven't been considered or looked after, and I think it's cruel to do that to them when they've worked hard, paid their taxes. I think they, you know what I mean. Yeah, it's hard to watch when you see that going on. You just want to help them and stuff, but yeah, we're going to be in the same boat soon. Like my generation, your generation, our generation now, we're going to be in
AI,
the
man.
same boat in another
Yeah.
10 or 15 years. Can you imagine? The advancement in technology, and we are just going to be left behind. So we're going to be
Yeah.
in that same boat at some stage. I mean, some people can pick it up and they can learn it, but other people just, yeah, it's not so easy for them. I've got
Yeah,
friends
I
of mine
actually
that are
thought, they
65.
got this. They're trying to ban the 16, 15, and 16-year-olds, but I thought, these kids know what they're doing. You literally could get school loads of 15 and 16-year-olds, 14-year-olds to actually not move in, but to visit retirement villages and fix old people's computers that they don't know how to
Yeah,
work anything. They'd fix it in a jiffy, and so you've got new
yeah,
generation, old generation coming together. So
yeah,
you've got 2 generations, or with a missing generation. It's just healing for society. It's a good thing. This is I wish there were some
yeah,
things like that. Like, even we were talking in launch in Lightning Ridge. Why aren't they teaching the children? I know they're teaching about all the pronouns and all the different genders they can be. Why aren't they teaching them how to survive in the bush in their area? So say you grew up in Lismore, and just so if you got lost in the bush around Lismore, instead of everyone freaking out, oh, we got a kid lost, you think, he's all right. He knows what to do. He'll find water. He'll figure it out. And so they still go
yeah,
looking for you, but you've actually been educated, even if they brought the indigenous in and they go, yeah, you can eat that. You can eat that. Here's how you find water. And so the kids aren't terrified. It's not like we're visitors living on a planet where we can only survive if we're in our air conditioned car. We can actually
yeah.
survive, Yeah,
Well,
because
I think I think now with a lot of the young ones, if they lost their device, they would have a meltdown. They would think they can't survive. They would go into panic mode. Whereas I think probably the older generation would think, oh well, maybe it's not such a bad thing that I can't find it and it's lost. I'll find other ways around it. But I think they've become reliant and too dependent on it. And I have actually seen young ones have meltdowns when they can't find their device, or won't work, or the battery's flat or whatever. I've
no, I've seen
actually think
older
that
people do that too. Yeah,
they
it is
they're
strange
not going
how
to
we're
survive the
connected
day.
that way.
They won't get through the day. But you
Yeah,
will get through the day without it, and it's
yeah,
probably a
I've
good thing.
reduced
We should have
my
one
thing.
day. Yeah, we should have one device-free day a week where you don't even turn it on, and you'd be surprised what you could get up to. It'd be
Yeah,
good.
that's right. That's right. Well, these are
I
interesting
might
things.
try it. I might
Yeah,
try it.
yeah.
Yeah, but
What are
anyway.
your thoughts on what happened in Bondi and the reaction from the Prime Minister and everything? Because He's in a world of hurt at the moment. Everyone hates him.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. Well, I think there's some gross negligence there. I've been signing a lot of petitions over the last 24 hours, 48 hours in regards to gun reform and all the rest of it. Of getting a lot of stuff coming through. To me, I think they have to make a decision on whether he slipped through accidentally or he slipped through deliberately. But at the end of the day, he slipped through, and that is a huge negligence on their behalf. And to see the way that the government's handling it, I think is very arrogant. I don't think they're in touch with the real situation at all, and I think they're looking for easy ways to avoid the real issue, and they're going to, putting it back onto the people, and it's just needs. I think it's ridiculous at this stage. I don't know where it's going to go. I'm hearing a lot of different stuff, and I'm a licensed gun owner myself. So, and I think that there'll be some form of restrictions placed on us. I don't know whether they'll be as draconian as what you hear or you think, but we've got ourselves about 60 odd thousand petitions signed at the moment. They're only looking for 20 to get it to become a legitimate debate on the Parliament floor when they come back into office they're calling them back in on the 22nd and 23rd to debate this on Parliament floor. So they'll be looking at it pretty seriously with those amount of petitions, and it's only going to grow in between now and then.
Well, the interesting thing with it, David, I know everyone says there's other agendas behind it, but let's pretend there isn't. Let's pretend that that's what they're going to do. But what they're really saying is here they've got two nut jobs who've done this shooting, where they're driven by religious ideological belief, this crazy, the crazy part of Islam, where they think that was driven. Who knows? But what I know is they're punishing all of us. He's basically coming out and go, we can't trust you with the weapons because we think you're like them. When in actual fact, the vast majority of gun owners are not. And if there'd actually been guns, other people there with guns there, like say in America, chances are these guys would have gone under much quicker. So it's really interesting, that I think the sort of as a leader of the country, he's basically saying, we can't trust you. We need to take over you. You can't be trusted with the weapons, you bad Australians. And I think that's what's pissing people off.
Well, governments will always take advantage of these sort of situations. They'll try and gain political ground when there's something like this happens. They will use it and milk it and try and gain political ground, and you'd expect that. That's what they'll do. We just need to stand up. It's numbers. It's a numbers game. If we can get enough people, hopefully, to sign petitions, and it's going to affect a lot of people. I think they forget where their food comes from in Canberra. I mean, if they deny farmers of certain types and categories of firearms which they need to do their job and run their farms in a lot of instances, it'll just become a non-viable business to be in. And I mean, at the end of the day, this is hypothetical, or I'm looking too far into the future, but the supermarket shelves will suffer if we don't have farms producing food and our food bowls suffer from it. Well, they're gonna wonder where their food's gone. And I mean, farmers do need firearms for all sorts of reasons, not just one reason. It's for humane, euthanasia of animals that are sick, injured, or whatever, or for vermin control. I know everyone thinks that's probably a lame excuse, and okay, well, we'll let the farmers have them. We'll get rid of all the recreational gun licenses, all the people that just want it for a sport. They don't need it for a sport. Well, it's not those people.
I mean, I don't have a gun. I don't think I have fired one, actually. I have fired one now on a trip. I was on a farm and I was allowed to shoot a shotgun. That was the first time I've ever done it. So I'm not really into guns, but people really are. and it's the
Yeah.
sportsman and they
Well,
take it seriously or they go hunting. I don't see any problem with that.
see, I get that. I get other people's views, and yeah, they're entitled to that view, and they don't necessarily need a gun. They're not interested in it, but everyone's different. Not everyone's the same. Some people like that to do that sport. They do clay target shooting. It's a very social activity. I was out at the rifle range the other week, and they had barbecues. There was children, there was mothers, fathers. They were all there for a great day, and they were shooting clay targets. And I mean, everyone was. It was fine. And I think it's just silly to try and ban that type of thing. And it's like when they tried to ban greyhound racing. They just went at it with it was a knee jerk reaction when they did that time. I don't know whether you remember that they tried to ban
No.
greyhound racing because of the
No,
cruelty
tell
to.
us about it. 'Cause of cruelty
Anyway,
to dogs.
yeah, and a lot of people, the industry's huge. Whether you like it or you don't, or whether you have greyhounds, or whether you've ever been to a track and watched greyhounds race. I mean, they don't use live hares and rabbits anymore. It's a stuffed animal that runs around on a thing. But where they were coming from is that these people they practice cruel and inhumane methods that teach greyhounds how to hunt. You don't really have to teach a greyhound how to kill. It's instilled in them. It's DNA'd into them. I mean, I had a pet of what do you call it, a rescue greyhound one day. A friend of mine had it, and it grabbed a little fluffy woman's handbag because it thought it was a fluffy toy. I mean, that dog was a retired greyhound, and it tore into this woman's handbag because it was one of those fluffy ones, and it's just DNA'd into them. And they've been around for thousands of years, greyhounds, and that's what they do. And the Premier at the time in New South Wales just called an outright ban on greyhound racing, and they had to do a backflip on it because it just created so much controversy, and it had too much down the line flow on, and they backflipped on. I can't remember the Premier at the time. I think it was before Berta, whoever that was.
Okay.
I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Going back a little way. It was pre-COVID. But about in the 2015, someone will probably be able to quote me on the actual date of that. But yeah, and this is a little bit like that. It's just government overreach, and it's a knee-jerk reaction. And I don't think there's any proper debating or planning gone into it. And I think there needs to be more of that before they. Sure, we can limit the amount of firearms certain people have and stuff like that. That may work. I mean, you don't need 20 rifles. I've got 3 or 4 registered in my name. And
if you're on an ASIO watch list, then maybe you could be questioned about you, or they can come and check.
Well, apparently this chap had been. You got to do a certain amount of paperwork and questionnaires when you go online to fill out and apply for a gun license. There's a certain amount of questionnaires you had to do. He's lied on one of that where it says, "Do you have an AVO on you? Have you ever committed domestic violence?" You have to answer all these questions, and he has. Obviously, he's split up from his wife. He's had a domestic violence issue, and he's either lied or he got his license before that occurred. I'm not sure which, but there's you know what I mean. There's some negligence there somewhere. Something's not right there for him to be even able to obtain a license to have a firearm. It's unbelievable.
There's Martin Taylor here. He's saying that it was 2016 when they tried to ban it. I think they did. They were saying, this happens to the dogs. I remember there's a huge push to it. And some other person up here from Rumble, Denise, is overbreeding, and now they have to find good homes for the doggies. But I've seen that there's a lot of nursing homes now that take the dogs. A lot of people have them as rescue dogs. And they're lazy. Once you get a greyhound, it doesn't run around. It just lays around the house like a dope smoker.
Yeah. That's what they do. They just sleep 18 hours a day. That's greyhounds. Yeah, they're very regal creatures. They date right back into the to the medieval times, I suppose, in the old days. Where they had them for hunting game mainly as a source of harvesting food. They used them for harvesting food to survive.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't live in those days now. Of course, we don't have a greyhound to do that these days. But
But
Anyway,
farmers do need guns going back. I remember Andrew Beale, the dairy farmer, telling me how he goes out every few nights and shoots foxes, because especially when the cows are giving birth, because the foxes will eat at the placenta and even the vagina of the cow, and while it's laying there, and then they'll have to shoot the cow. So what are you farming now? What you've bought a farm, or you bought a small property? What are you doing with that now as we go into this great silence?
yeah, well, it's a hobby farm. It's not it's not like a business or a sort of thing. We have 20 sheep. They keep our property clean, free of weeds. We harvest our own meat from them. We breed a few meat for our own use and help family as well. Anyone that wants to, get a bit of meat off me, I'll do some bartering and some trading and stuff. But yeah, that's basically all they're for, is just to keep our farm clean, free of weeds. Yeah, and it's more of a hobby farm than a business, but yeah, with me, wild dogs, foxes, they're an issue. That was the main reason why I obtained a firearms license. I had one in the old days when I was working on sheep stations when I was a younger man in my 20s, but I let
Yeah.
it lapse. I let it go out, and a lot of my rifles that I brought back from the outback when I finished sheep station work, they got confiscated by
Oh,
the police. My mother panicked when my father had Alzheimer's, and she rang the police and told them that she wanted them to come around and take all the firearms. And we had them in a cabinet at my father's place, and he was a licensed firearms owner, and they came
yeah.
around and confiscated all the firearms from there. So I lost all my firearms then, but I've since, got another license and jumped through all the hoops. And, the main thing is, with anyone can get a firearms license in this country, basically, if you haven't got a criminal record.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is certain amount of paperwork and hoops to jump through to get it. They're not easy to get, but I have got one now, and mainly for the livestock here, for wild dogs and foxes when we're lambing. But other than that, I just do target shooting at the range now, and yeah, just to keep everything sort of safe and secure and running properly. Yeah,
Cool.
and it's
And
good.
where would you like to see Australia go? At the moment, because at the moment we're heading to Victoria has on their website, they're pushing 20-minute cities, saying that they're designing them now, 20-minute cities, which is a part of the WHO. We've got, they're getting ready to silence dissidents, which would be me and Hoodie and Bossy and anyone else you
Yeah,
can think of.
yeah,
Yourself too, if we don't do social media. So they're getting ready to silence anyone who challenges them. And we're just in this really interesting place now where it's the people are going to decide. If they comply en masse, then that's the direction we're going. If they don't, who knows? But where would you like to see Australia go?
it's a good question. I think COVID was the turning point for globally. We used to get around. There was a saying called New World Order, and people thought, "Oh, you're crazy." They didn't understand. They thought you were mad and all this. Well, basically, from what I can see now, we are living in This is New World Order. So when we turned the corner at COVID, good became bad and bad became good. Everything got turned upside down, and I think now that we've entered a new world, it changed everything. You can say it didn't. You can say life's still the same as what it used to, but I think you're only kidding yourself. I think we all know that it's changed
Yeah,
dramatically, and it
yeah,
started to really progress faster now. They talk about gender 2030, and I know that that's probably the agenda where this is all heading. I mean, I've watched and done a lot of research on all the globalists and the elites and how, it's all control, government overreach. I mean, I think that we need to try and avoid going getting too involved in all that. We just need to keep things simple, and we need to be aware and awake as to what they're doing and where we're going with all this, because it's moving pretty rapidly now. And the problem is, I think in this country, we're all a little bit too asleep. We had the attitude of "she'll be right, mate." She'll be right, mate, which is the old great Aussie attitude. And we grew up with, thinking everything will be right, mate. But now everything's not right. And anyone could see that.
Beautifully put.
You don't have, and I think now is time we need to start fighting. Our parents and grandparents fought in the wars for our freedom. And I think it's now our time to stand up and fight again for our freedom. Otherwise, we're going to lose it. And I really feel for the next generation. I hear so many people say that phrase that I just said then. I feel for the next generation. But this is going to affect our generation. This is moving rapidly. Yeah. And unless we all come together, we all need to come together, and we all need to turn up, and we all need to say no. And no, and, that's where I think what we need to do as a, as a community, as Australian citizens. We need to look what's happening overseas in Britain. We can see what's happening over there. The writing's on the wall, and we're going down that same path in this country here. And one day people are going to wake up and say, how did this happen? Well, it happened because we were asleep. We weren't paying attention. We fell asleep at the wheel, and it's time to wake up. And you can't get into trouble from saying no,
No.
And but that's what we need to do. And a lot of people should have said no. I know with the COVID thing, people had their backs to the wall and they had no choices. There was a lot of decisions they had to make when they're going to lose their jobs, their livelihoods. A lot of people lost families. But now is another time where we need to stand up, and we need to say no to a lot of this stuff that they're trying to implement, and this government overreach, because it's not the way this country needs to go. It's very communistic.
You've got to put up with some inconvenience of, okay, we can't get onto Facebook, you can't go onto YouTube. You just got to put up with some inconvenience, find platforms we can, find ways around it. There'll always be ways around it. I think we keep using cash and just refuse. There's so much we can do now that's not going to lose your job. That's not going to see you lose your mortgage. And also the other thing underneath it all is times are getting really, really tough financially, and yet it's obvious. I keep saying it all the time. There's no reason for that, because we've got all this mineral wealth, we got all this land. There's absolutely no reason. The only reason we are getting broke is because it's been engineered that way. That's what they're trying to do. Yeah,
absolutely.
And so that's
absolutely. This has been engineered, and it's not going to benefit the. I think what they're trying to do, I think they're trying to cripple middle class, because middle class is the majority of us. You know what I mean?
That's correct.
So I think they're trying to cripple the middle class. And they're just coming after us. I mean, we pay the highest taxes in the world in this country. I mean, they said they'd never raised the GST. How many times has GST been raised? It'll probably go up again. I mean, the government's just absolutely rolling in money. If they can afford to give 27 million to some jihad foundation here the other week to finance them, and I mean, so much money goes overseas. I think our biggest problem is we've become. Well, it's a problem. It's globally too. I think it's not just Australia. Everyone's become too global. Where sovereignty is not such an issue anymore. We've all become too global, and I think we need to get back to looking after Australia, putting Australians first, putting our country first, not paying so much attention to what's going on overseas. Regardless, we've got problems in this country, huge problems in this country we need to deal with, and before we start, offering millions of dollars to overseas and likes of, and I just think we need to we put these politicians in the office. We vote them in. We can vote them out. I know it's going to be hard to vote our way out of this mess. I call it a mess because we are in a mess, whichever way you look at it. And it's hard to vote your way out under this Westminster system of politics that we live under. It's hard to vote your way out of this sort of thing because both parties are joined at the hip. And I mean, unfortunately, Pauline Hansel will never be Prime Minister of this country. There'd have to be some dramatic changes made to the whole system for that to ever happen. I know a lot of people are starting to vote and support her, and it's good. And keep supporting her is good, because she seems to be about the only one that's putting Australians first, and that's really where we need to get down back to that. That's the main important thing, is putting Australians
Yeah, I think
first.
so. It's that
You know.
simple. Us first.
It
Us
is,
first.
and it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done. It's
Yep.
doable, but that's where we
Yep.
need to go. That would be a huge turning point if we just start
I
doing
saw
that
I
again.
don't know if I got it down today. Just let me see if I got this down today. Oh, where is it? My computer. This PC. I can't seem to find it now. What I had was oh, here's it in here. Oh, yeah, here it is. This is here. I think it's this. This is the Australia that we grew up in. Watch. Joe Rogan did a thing on America where he showed how Americans were healthy. I think this is from the 70s. Look how fit everyone is. Try find a fat person.
The Doomans, like every family in Sydney, look forward to the summer. Spring comes in September and October, and the Pacific Ocean is warm and welcoming again.
I don't know why it's going at that speed. Look at him.
Yeah.
But everyone's so healthy. You know what I mean? It's and so there's a guy who Paul Lassig, and he gave me a great idea. He said we don't need a revolution, we need a renovation. And that is what we need to get back to. That healthiness. And that's not through exercise. That's the food they're feeding us, all these seed oils and all this other stuff that's making us big. It's doable. We're great renovators, and this is what we have to do with our country, I think. And yeah, it's such an interesting time. Anyway, David Duckering or Dutchering, I love that name. Is there anything you'd like else to say before we move on?
No, not particularly. Look, I think we've covered most of it without going down any rabbit holes tonight, you know, which we could. There's a lot more we could discuss, but at this stage, you know, I think we've touched on, you know, the important issues and how I feel, and, you know, how things have changed in our lives. And, you know, we just got to try and come together a bit and get through this. And I'm sure we can. Look, I think probably it's going to get worse before it gets better. So we're in for a rough ride.
Says that.
I'm wondering how 2026 is going to pan out. Try not to think too far ahead, but I think it's going to be pretty rough. But you know, it's going to get pretty rough before it gets better, I think. And let's just hope the good old Aussie spirit comes out, and we can get some sort of, you know, clarity and some sort of sense back in our country again, because we're losing it, and we're losing it rapidly now. And I don't recognise my country now, you know, most days. So yeah, I think
Dan
we
Andrews,
need
the big
to
rumor here all night. The rumor for the last few days is that Dan Andrews is going to take over from Albanese, which is terrifying. Although he'd have to win, wouldn't he? He'd have to win a seat. So there'd have to be a seat somewhere in Australia who would vote Dan Andrews in.
Yeah, look, I don't think he can just fall into the job. He's not even in.
No,
he's got to
get. But they could give him a safe seat. But is there any safe seats for Labor at the moment around Australia?
Jesus, I don't know. Look, I think he might have cooked his goose. I don't know, but there's a lot of people very wary of him at the moment with the people he's hanging around. It's not good.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't met many, but I don't know. Maybe there are some out there.
There are some out there.
Yeah, no, I haven't met too many, but anyway,
I'm
worries.
going to go out with a song called Silent Man, and this was written for when one of my last jobs was a tram driver. My last job was a tram driver, and they started sacking all the larrikins. A new company took over, and they just started sacking all the larrikins. The only way to survive there was to be silent. And I was trying to, I didn't say that long after that, but I remember talking to some guy saying, look, you have to speak up because they're just sacking these guys and you'll be next. And they just wanted to stay silent. And this one man told me all he wanted to do is he had a Mustang that he used to work on. And he just concentrated on that. He'd go for these drives. He'd have all this computer gear on the front seat monitoring the Mustang. So he's fully focused on that. So he didn't have to deal on the world around him. But the trouble is, the world was coming for him regardless. And so I wrote this thing called Silent Man. And now it's more prevalent. So all the men out there, they're going to start silencing voices like David, voices like me, Tom Vogel, Robin. It seems to be what's going to happen. And so it's going to get very quiet in the country. And you're going to want to speak, but it's going to take courage. But what happens if you don't? And so I'm going to play Silent Man. It's a blues song. It's a bit heavy. But this is my, it's not a threat. It's just a warning to people out there. The silence, it'll drive you insane. Even if you get clever enough to show the world that you're fine, but inside you're going to be screaming, I believe. David, it was great to meet you in Tenterfield. Thanks for coming on, brother. Thanks for having your say. And and I wish you the best with your farm and everything else and your great partner, Donna. I got it right, Donna?
No worries, Michael. Yeah, Donna, that's right. Yep.
Name.
No worries, Michael.
There you go, Donna. I
Yep.
remembered your
Thanks
name.
for having me
God
on.
bless, brother.
And you have a Merry Christmas and travel safe.
Cheers, brother. Take care. This is Silent Man. See you. Might see you tomorrow if the Cardi Girls don't have anyone. We'll have to see. Otherwise, because I know that What the Fuck Boys aren't on. So we might actually look around to see if we can get someone to do a show tomorrow. Or if you want to come on, reach us on cafelockedout@gmail.com. Actually, no, we've got a new one, michael@cafelockedout.com. But let's see, because as someone said before, these could be the last of these shows. We never know. You wake up one thing and Cafe Lockdown will be gone because it's been shut out. Here is where we are now. We're on the edge of the great silence. And the only thing that can prevent the great silence from consuming us is ourselves. Good night.
This is my 1968 Ford Mustang, same as Steve McQueen drove in Bullet. I rebuilt it myself, all by hand. It is my secret, weekend lover. The engine has sensors that monitor it all as I drive through the hills, looking for something to fix. Little white crosses passing, flowers wilting round their base. The last been reached, again I guess, by another silent man. The last been reached, again I guess, by another silent man. They sacked Brian today, 33 years on the job. One little mistake and now he's gone. A few months ago they sacked Matt the same way, marched him through the staff room like a criminal. I wanted to say something but you can't, or if you want to survive, then you've got to learn somehow to find the courage to be just another silent man. Just just another silent man. There are so many curves on this mountain road, so many of them are blind, but my car eats them all, for there is nothing wrong. I guess today's the day she no longer needs me. I've been one to call Brian, look mate, it's not like I don't care, but what can I as one man do? Surely you understand, things are not like they were before. To try and keep your job now, somehow you have to learn to be just another silent man. This land is changing, this is a fast changing land. Yeah, I get it, okay. I read the memo, I understand. You wanna say something now, in fact you just wanna scream, but you know that you can't, for if you wanna survive, then mate, you're gonna have to find the courage to be just another silent man. Little white crosses passing by, wilted flowers drying around their base. Life's been reached again, I guess, by another